I don't want to scare you, but this was me 2 years into my lock journey. I know this is really bad, and truly, I don't know the extent of the damage that my locks experienced after this sunburn, but don't let it happen to you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dreadlock Culture channel. My name is Nadia, and today's our first video on our summer lock series. A couple weeks ago, if you were on the newsletter, you received an email where I asked you guys what concerns and questions you had about taking care of your locks during the summer season. And I got so many questions and replies. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. I will be covering all of those questions in this series, which will lead me probably till the end of this month. And yeah, if you have any questions in the meantime, then keep sending them my way. I will answer everyone. So I want to start the series by answering one of the main questions I received, which was, how do we protect our hair and our scalp from sun damage? Specifically because in this season, we spend a lot more time outdoors, we spend more time under the sun, and we have to consider ultraviolet radiation. So first, let's answer the question, what can happen if we don't protect our hair and our scalp from UV rays? Well, there are several things that can happen. Within our locks themselves, we can experience dryness, frizziness, possible brittle locks, and over time you might actually even see thinning if the full hair structure was damaged. You can also experience your locks changing color because UV oxidizes our hair. And also, as far as scalp goes, you can experience burns on the scalp, which, trust me, you do not want to experience. That is so painful. And worsening scalp conditions. So if you have already pre-existing conditions like dandruff, psoriasis, or eczema, or something similar on your scalp, the sun and the damage from the UV rays can make that a lot worse. When we talk about UV, what are we exactly protecting ourselves from? UV has three types, and we have UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA has the longest wavelength, and it's responsible for aging and some types of skin cancer. UVB has a shorter wavelength, and that one's more responsible for burns on the skin and also other types of skin cancer. And then finally, UVC is the shortest wavelength and also the most dangerous, but it's largely absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere, so it doesn't actually make it down here to the Earth's surface. So we're primarily trying to protect ourselves from UVA and UVB, which then leads us to the question, how do we protect ourselves from UVA and UVB? There are some treatments that work better to protect us from UVA and not UVB, and then vice versa. So there are some combination of treatments that we can do and different ways that we can protect ourselves. We always want to just be researching what are the best ways to make sure that we kind of have all of our bases covered. But here are 7 tips that will help you just to protect yourself in general. First, you want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Water is not actually going to protect you from the rays of the sun. It's not SPF anything. But what water does is it's going to help to hydrate your cells to make sure that in case that there is a lot of sun exposure, that your cells are healthy and hydrated enough to withstand some of the effects of the UV rays. Second, you want to limit your direct sun exposure between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Within the Northern Hemisphere, this is especially important between April and October. Then in the Southern Hemisphere, it would be the opposite. So October through April when it's the summer season. And that's when the sun is the strongest. So as a rule of thumb, if you're out and about and you look down at your shadow and your shadow happens to be shorter than your actual height, then you're in an hour that is still kind of a high risk time. You want to wait until your shadow is a lot longer if you're going to be directly under the sun tanning. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is that if it's overcast, it doesn't actually mean that you're protected from the sun. Depending on the type of clouds, up to 80% of UV rays can filter themselves through the cloud. So if you're still within that harsh hour of 10 to 4, then be sure to have some other level of protection. And then also you want to be mindful of reflections. So certain reflections can actually double the impact of the sun's rays on our body. And these would include reflections from the water, from the sand, from metal, and from snow. If you remember the photo I showed you earlier with my face all puffed up, that happened on a beautiful spring day while there was still a lot of snow on the ground. And I spent a good like 5 hours hiking. And yeah, that was the result of that. Third, you want to implement a few different things to protect your scalp and your hair. One would be by wearing a hat, and it's recommended that you wear a hat with like a 4-inch brim that goes kind of all around. This is going to help you also to protect your neck and then maybe even your shoulders from some of that sun. Also, you can wear a headband, a headscarf, or like something that's lint-free, of course, but there's like satin scarves and different things that you can do to protect at least this area, which is maybe where like the sun is going to be affecting you the most or more directly. If you're going to be in the pool swimming during those peak hours, then I recommend you wear a swimming cap, and this is going to help you as well with the reflection from the water and whatnot. And then if you're going to be at the pool or at the beach, then bring an umbrella or sit under an umbrella to protect you from the sun at those peak hours. Tip number 4 is to avoid room maintenance during the summer season. If you can, do it before or do it after. But during the summer season, when you're more likely to be outside, you run the risk of burning your scalp really bad. Imagine, like in my case, I haven't had room maintenance in almost a year. And as your hair grows, that does provide a type of a shield for your scalp from the sun, right? But if all of a sudden I had root maintenance, there's naturally going to be a lot of exposed areas. And not only is that going to get a lot drier and be prone to just scalp dryness because of the air, but also if the sun all of a sudden starts getting into those areas that hasn't seen the sun in so long, it is way more sensitive than probably any other part of your skin, like your hands, your face, that has been seeing sunlight a whole lot more during the year. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do get root maintenance, make sure that you're for sure wearing a hat or something to protect your scalp, because it is going to be an area that is a lot more sensitive and a lot more prone to sun damage. Tip number 5 is to style your locks in certain protective ways. I will be releasing a video on a few different styles that you can try out, so just be on the lookout for that one. And once that one's released, I will link it in the description. Tip number 6 is to use a hair mist that will protect your locks, kind of like a sunscreen would, but we're not going to be using sunscreen. Tomorrow, actually, I'll be releasing a video, so I will have that linked in the description as well. And in this video, I talk about 4 different recipes that you can make with ingredients at home that have some level of sun protection. They're not going to be fully protective. This is not like an SPF 100 type of product. So you want to just be mindful of that. You don't want to have your hair necessarily exposed more than it needs to be, but this hair mist will help to protect your hair a little bit better from the UV exposure. And last but not least, you want to eat your sunscreen. And of course, I don't mean this literally, but in my research, I actually came across a few studies where they talk about certain nutrients that if we eat them, that our bodies can help to create like an environment to prevent such intense sun damage, both on our skin and on our hair. The study that I read is called Eat Your Sunscreen: How the Food We Consume Can Protect Our Skin from the Sun's Harmful Rays. I will leave that linked in the description, of course, and you can read it and do your own research if you'd like. But I did the homework. I started researching. I kind of went on this very long rabbit trail and I researched what each of these nutrients are. And there's some research to back up what this one article said. So I will link all the supporting studies as well. But let me just kind of give you a brief overview. And for this, I'm going to go off of my notes because there's a lot of details that I don't want to miss. So this study discusses 6 different nutrients that, of course, are found in our food and that they can help protect us from the inside out. The first of these is carotenoids, and these are nutrients found in colorful fruits and veggies. The research shows that they can make our skin more resistant to sunburn caused by both UVA and UVB rays. Then we have isothiocyanates, And these are natural compounds found in cruciferous vegetables. And so whenever you chop or whenever you chew cruciferous veggies, it releases something called glucosinolates, something like that. And these are sulfur-containing phytochemicals. And so they reduce DNA damage and block harmful changes caused by UVB rays. Then we have antioxidants, and studies show that eating foods rich in antioxidants for 10 weeks or more can make your skin more resistant to sunburn and UV damage. Of course, this is something that you want to start doing now, so then in 10 weeks or more, then your body is up to par with that. The antioxidants fortify the cell membrane and preserve intracellular components from UV-induced cell damage and intracellular water loss. Next, we have polyphenols, and polyphenols protect the body's tissues against oxidative stress and reduce inflammation. So they help protect your skin from both UVA and UVB. And these can be taken both topically, so on the surface of your skin, as well as orally. So you can eat them or you can put them over your skin and they will provide those benefits for you. Next, we have beta-glucan, and beta-glucan is a natural substance. It's a type of sugar molecule, and it's found in certain plants, mushrooms, certain bacteria, and algae. And in a study, it showed that it can help prevent or reduce DNA damage from UV light, especially if consumed before exposure. Then finally, we have essential fatty acids. These are what we know as omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, and they attract water to dehydrated cells and connective tissue. They prevent water loss in cells as well as reduce inflammation. Studies show that they protect our bodies from UV damage. And so I made a list based on the research that I did. I made a list of the foods under each of these nutritional categories, and I will have that available for you in the description if you want to download it. But by all means, you can go ahead and do your own research as well and determine what foods are ideal for you in order to help your body fight for itself when it comes to UV rays. On the other side of that, I also learned through my research about 2 different compounds specifically, which can also be found in food. And by eating these, they increase our sensitivity to the sun. So these compounds are called furocoumarins, and that's a group of plant chemicals. And then a specific type of furocoumarins is called psoralins. So foods that are high in both of these can cause a lot more sensitivity. In other words, if you eat more of these foods, then it's possible that your skin can react a lot easier to sun damage, and it can be worse for you. So a few of the foods that have the highest natural concentrations of these are citrus fruits, figs, parsnips, celery, but celery juice specifically is what I learned, and parsley. And I'm not going to say that all of the foods with the furocoumarins are going to cause sensitivity, but it's something to keep in mind, maybe just to do some research and just to, have it in the back of your mind, or you can go as deep into the rabbit hole as you wish. I also found a study where they observed thousands of women over a period of 16 years, and they found that the women who had had the most citrus juice and had been exposed to the sun developed the highest rates of melanoma. So I'm going to leave that linked here as well, and you can do with that information what you want. I think it's just important to bring it up and to think about, right, as a possibility. I'm not saying that if you have a cup of orange juice in the sun, you're going to develop melanoma. Of course not, but it's something to consider and to just do some further research on. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked it. And if you did, please leave it a thumbs up. If you have any more questions now through the end of the summer or whenever about sun, about your locks, about whatever lock related question that you have, by all means, send them my way and I'll be happy to answer those. And yeah, thank you. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. If you haven't yet subscribed, but you want to see more lock related content, then by all means, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime I post another video. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. I will see you soon. And until then, keep rocking your locks. Bye.